were fake account numbers. Not anymore. You've got to clean them up. You've got to erase them. No numbers are shown. So things are, in some industries, yeah, that's a no-no.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I think it's legitimate, but I also think that um, I don't know. I tread lightly when I say this, but I don't think it's our responsibility, to be honest with you, as e-learning designers and professionals. We fight the good fight, but at the end of the day, the training has to get done, and there's sort of the long term wars that you fight, and then hoping someday you can break down those barriers, or IT will break down those barriers with a new technology or something that the enterprise is more comfortable with. But at the end of the day, I think our primary concern needs to be around the design and the development. If at the end of the day, the IT department or legal comes at you and says, no way in heck we're pushing this stuff out to cell phones or smartphones or iPads, too much of a legal hassle, then for the short term you just kind of have to accept that. Find the platform that's acceptable and go for it, and then do what you can. But it's a tough battle to fight.
It is. And also with a small screen, like Terrence said, you've got a very limited amount of real estate to put stuff on.
Right.
I mean, you could have 3 slides. One says welcome, one says to this, and the last one could be training. And then you have big fonts, and everybody could read it really well. But ideally, a lot of the mobile learning lends itself to video. If you have video scenarios, video training, that almost makes more sense on a phone. On an iPad or any kind of device, all of a sudden you got a big screen, you can do almost anything with it. But phones are tricky because they are small. If you're outside, most phones are fairly unreadable. So it's always that little issue of balancing. What do you do with that kind of stuff? One perfect thing. I was on an airplane one time. I think it was American, and the flight attendants all had back then pocket PCs, and they were actually taking orders for all sorts of different things on those pocket PCs, and they also had some training on them, so that they could actually get information on how to take the orders. It was sort of interesting. It was this is probably about a decade ago. I haven't seen it since, at least on American, but it was a very clever way of using technology back then, considering the limitations. And Wi-Fi was still fairly unheard of. It was just very localized, and yet it worked. I'm sure there's more examples of that. Can you think of any examples, Brent, of people who have implemented mobile learning and successfully?
Oh boy.
And that concludes the mobile learning center.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. Quick, Clark, pull something out of your book for me real quick.
Well, here we'll shift gears on you, because there's a little bit of a conversation that happened. I don't think it lasted very long, but between David and Clark, about gender, race, age, and whether millennials or baby boomers or Gen Y or any of that stuff, whether it really matters with mobile learning. Is one more susceptible than the other, or is that something we shouldn't even be considering? Are we throwing out the learner analysis out the window when it comes to M-learning?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that it does take us back to the whole idea of, is it performance support or is it learning? And if you're just putting up a bunch of content that people can get quick access to via a mobile device while they're on their job, then yeah, maybe we do get rid of the the analysis part of it, and we're just giving them access to a very large, broad library of content that they can draw from, and because maybe we don't know what they're going to need. But I think at some point, in order to make the user experience for those learners be more useful to them, the assessment, I think, then becomes critical, even if you're not really talking about learning and instructional assessment, just understanding the device, how they're going to use it, and what type of content they're going to be needing on their job, which in essence is the same as doing an assessment for standard e-learning, you know?
Well, it's interesting. Terrence brought up a point. You've got millennials, you've got Xers, Yers, Zers, whatever else you want. We've got a mix of just about everybody. Now, as a quote-unquote boomer, I can't see the small print on my phones. You know, you need either the glasses or something to magnify them. As a millennial, they're reading the fine print 14 feet away on the phone on the wall. So it's, you know, we're not. We have to definitely think about those things. Who your target audience is. Can they see the stuff? Can they not see the stuff? You know, contrast seems to have been something that disappeared in the latest design methodologies. Everybody uses light gray on white or light gray on lighter gray, and it's just, you know,
Right.
hard to read anyway. But you know, I think our event is going to be when all the millennials turn about 40, they'll be blind, but yeah. And then they'll understand what we go through. But no, seriously,
Well,
there are a lot of differences between. What do we have? 4 generations, Terrence, right now that are all working together, or is it even more?
Technically 5.
5, and they all have different needs. How often have you gone into a situation where one generation likes to listen, another one likes to read, another one likes to sleep, and you know, it just depends on what you're doing. But you've got different requirements for everybody. How do you reach everybody? It's pretty hard right now to find that common ground. And even worse, which I think is in a way is good, if you look at what people are used to now, which is the gaming technology. And you look at a boring e-learning course, and then you look at games, and you think, which one is going to teach or do, you know, get more of an impact? It's a tough one. So mobile has to not only find its niche as far as what it does, but it also has to find its niche as far as who it goes for, or who best fits it.
Yeah, I think from a, I don't know, the whole millennial or generational thing, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to take the conversation there, but maybe that's what he was referring to with regards to the assessment piece of it. Because, I mean, you have to know who your audience is when you're going to be releasing any sort of training or learning, or even if you're just rolling out any sort of software. So one of the things that I look at when I'm trying to figure out, you know, where I think e-learning design and software might be going, I think it's important to look at just the software industry, the internet, web development industry in general, and they've solved all of those problems. And so oftentimes when we have these technical conversations within the e-learning community, it's a little bit frustrating knowing that, you know, it's not a problem for anybody else, but yet we all, you know, struggle with figuring out, geez, how are we going to deliver this content to everybody? You know, there's plenty of applications out there, publishers that have figured out, you know, the best way to use web development technologies to make a custom experience for whatever device accesses the content. And so why can't we do the same?
How's the chat room going, Terrence?
Great, no questions, and actually the hashtag on Twitter is moving pretty fast too. So it's becoming quite the full-time job today. And Brent, I think you broke a eLearnChat record for us today as far as our live viewers. We've got 28 live viewers. We usually hover around the 12 to 18 range. So
Well, you know, that's kind of hard to tell, because then the minute we get off,
Awesome.
there's 60 to 90. So it's, and that's
no,
just
not in the viewers. The viewers are the live ones, not
Okay.
the views.
Okay.
The viewers is a pure stat.
Okay.
Yeah. So congratulations, Brent. You just made world history.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a virtual round of applause going on?
There you go. Well timed on
Ask
that
and
one
you shall
too, Rick.
receive. Yes.
All right, I'm trying. I've got to get the Twitter chat dialed up here. Give me a second. Quick, somebody
Yeah,
do a song
we've
and
got
dance.
we've got a lot of the usuals in the actually the eLearn chat almost looks like a learn chat session with we've got Jane in there, Clark, Aaron's in there, Kevin Thorne's in there. So a lot of the learn chat regulars are following you into eLearn chat today.
There he is. Yeah. So, yeah, I think Kevin Thorne's going through some mobile stuff. It'd be interesting to hear his story one of these days. He seems to be right in the thick of it with trying to get some mobile
Well, actually, that brings up an interesting point too.
learning learning stuff.
I believe Kevin was in the Army. Terrence was in the Army. The military is doing a lot of stuff with mobile. They're probably one of the biggest proponents of mobile right now. Do you have any information on what the military is doing in terms? I know they're deploying training to troops out in the field via mobile devices, and I'd say that might be our biggest test bed right now of mobile learning. Do you guys have any information on that? Terrence, Brent?
Yeah.
About what
Yeah, well,
I've seen a lot of really cool stuff that the military is doing. Vehicle maintenance on an iPhone, and what am I trying to say? Language study, translation, using the actual device to communicate with non-English speaking communities. Being able to actually display pictures of what it is you're trying to say, or actually translate it live on the device if they have a connection, or a built-in library. There's being mobile is so incredibly important in to our military, to defense, to the boots on the ground. I mean, it's just a natural place for a lot of mobile learning to occur.
I would say too that it's built into the culture because it's such a transient job. I was in the infantry when I was in the military, and oftentimes you're forward of garrison, and you don't have the luxury of, well, at the time I was in, there really wasn't a lot of electronic learning going on, but you weren't in front of your library where you could access that information. So there was a part of the culture that was called hip pocket training. And what that was as you were out wherever you were in the world, in the middle of some jungle or desert or whatever it happened to be, training still took place. It never stopped just because you weren't plugged into something or weren't connected. As far as the electronic versions of that, I've been out for, gosh, almost 16, 17 years now. So I'd have to venture to say some of the things that I've seen seem much more advanced than when I was in the service. But I think mobile, not necessarily electronic mobile, but mobile has been a part of military culture probably since it's been around, just because of the sheer nature of it.
And it's nothing like having the sweet sound of that drill sergeant in your ear whenever you're in the middle of anywhere, right?
Absolutely. It still resonates. I still wake up screaming sometimes. Oh, wait, that's just my
you
wife.
You captured that in an e-learning module for yourself, right? And you play it back every now and then just to remember the good old days.
But that it seems like maybe that is the question more, is it a cultural issue more so than a generational or any other demographic issue?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about e-learning in general, whether it's mobile or designing some sort of learning experience with technology, absolutely. What I've seen over the years, and I think we will continue to see, is that the biggest hurdle is the cultural side of it. And it feels to me like there's two ways to approach it. I mean, sometimes there's a business need that has to happen, and really, honestly, the best solution is to come up with some sort of technology solution, even though you may have to go through some training of that particular technology with the learners, and then but the value is still there.